I remember it was hot. It was hot during the summer in Las Vegas. We were out on Lake Mead, and I remember jumping off the boat, but the water was still cold. It was hot as can be outside, maybe 110, somewhere around there. But when I jumped in the water, it shocked me. And then all I hear is voices. It's easy. It's easy. Just lock your arms and let the rope and the boat do the rest. And I was thinking, okay, well, cool. I've played sports before. This can't be that hard. And plus it was, a couple of friends, it was two friends that were there and their parents, and, everybody's watching me. I'm in the water. They only gave me one ski, which I didn't really understand, but I'm laying there and they just keep saying, it's easy. Lock your arms and let the rope and the boat do the rest. And I was like, cool. So, I locked my arms to my chest. I held on tight. And I let my arms go, but I felt that I kept them locked, or I didn't really understand. And as I get pulled up, I stand up and I wobble, and then bam, face first. And I fall right into the lake, and but they didn't tell me to let go of the rope. So I just held onto the rope thinking I could pull myself back up. And meanwhile, I'm drinking lake water. And if you've ever been to Lake Mead, I'm probably ingesting some of the some mobsters out there, some people who did some silly things. It's not the cleanest lake in the world. But what I realized at the time is, like, for me, I just kept holding on to the rope, and it felt like, for hours. It was probably for a couple of seconds, probably 20 or 30 seconds, until I can hear in my ear through the water and drinking all the water is, let go of the rope, let go of the rope. And I finally let go of the rope, and everything kind of subsided. So this this chaos that was ensuing was crazy. But it all stopped and everything was okay once I let go of the rope. And see, in Proverbs 15, it encourages us to let go of the rope of conventional thinking and allow wisdom to be our guide. You see, sometimes our perspectives, our perceptions, we bring them in to old perceptions and old perspectives. We bring them into a new circumstance. And we hold on to them so tight that when we go in, we butt heads with somebody else or something else that's going on, and all we have to do to be able to make that situation better is to let go of the rope. So in Proverbs 15, it took me down this line, and it was an eye-opener to help me to understand that sometimes I just got to be able to let go, and that takes the most strength. So why don't we get this party started?
On my mind, I got two shines, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
Probably one of the toughest things that we'll ever do in our life is to let go, right? And, I remember that time. Molly, if you're listening, you know exactly who you are. Tony Sekikawa, it's your wife. She, I was skiing with her and her family, and they just tossed me in the water. They didn't give me any instructions. They didn't tell me to let go of the rope. If I would have understood that all I had to do was let go, things would have been a lot different. But I created all this chaos because I was gripping so tight to that rope, and I was drinking gallons of water, that was being forced down my throat. And I didn't realize that the only thing I had to do was just let go. And that's the thing that God was dealing with me today on is, how many things are you holding on to? My pop said this to me early on in my life is how many $100 bills can you put in clenched fists? Sometimes we hold so tight to the things that we have that we don't have hands open to be able to receive what's coming to us. And this was a hard lesson. And as I was sitting at the beach this morning, God took me through it. And this Proverbs 15 had a ton of wisdom. Some of it I didn't want to hear, but it was one of those things where, the main question for me was just like, what do you need to release today? What do you need to let go of? What do you need to let go of that you've been holding on to? Maybe it's a perception of life. Maybe it's something that you heard over and over again. I remember hearing all the time as a kid, don't quit, don't quit, don't quit. Well, that works in certain circumstances. But also, if there's times where you need to wave the red flag and maybe quit that thing to step away from it because you're about to get hurt. And this was a thing that my brother said to me a lot. He said the same thing that is a major strength is also one of your biggest weaknesses. And that's because sometimes you don't quit. And sometimes we need to. Sometimes we need to step away. Sometimes we need to release it and then just let it go. My wife is very good at this because when things aren't working, she actually just shifts it up and she's okay with just letting it be. So I love you, baby, and you're very wise, and you smell nice and you say nice things too. So I love you a bunch, Brooklyn. In Proverbs 15, verse 1 and 4, anger is no match for love. This is a very, very simple proverb. Anger is no match for love. The smallest amount of love can overpower anger. And whenever you get angry, and I had this happen just recently, I got really angry about something. I was frustrated, but I wasn't frustrated because of the circumstance. I was frustrated because of a lot of other stuff, and then it bubbled up into that scenario. No one's ever done that either. I know none of you guys have done that are listening. All of you guys are perfect. But what I realized is that, when you're in a place of frustration, if you combat that with a little bit of love, it douses it. You take the fuel off the fire can't burn anymore, right? If you don't have oxygen, the fire can't burn anymore. So you stop breathing or pushing oxygen into that thing. That's going to give it life. Fuel gives it life. Guys, just step away. What will stop the heat from happening is just love. And that love, a little bit of it, will always overpower anger, because anger is no match for love. In verse 2, 7, and 26, a wise answer is rooted in knowledge, right? A wise answer is the right use of knowledge, and the right use of that. When you have the right use of knowledge and wisdom, a wise answer will be rooted in that knowledge. So if it's a wise answer, it has wisdom. That wisdom is the right use of knowledge. Then you could bring knowledge in. Then you could bring understanding in. Then you could bring insight in. Then you could bring discernment or discretion in. Then you could bring discernment, discipline, strength, and then back to wisdom, right? And so in this one was strong. And I think that, this one hit me hard today because of how many different verses it actually referred to it in. In verse 3, 5, 10, 12, 28, and 32 of Proverbs 15, letting go of the rope. Justification doesn't end well. See, when I was behind the boat, I was justifying while I'm holding on. I'm justifying, saying they told me to just lock my arms. Let the rope and the boat do the work. So I locked my arms and I was just holding on. And I was justifying in my head, if I could just pull just a little bit longer, if I could pull just a little bit harder, I'll be able to get up and make all this chaos stop. And you know what it was? Just letting go of the rope. So what rope are you holding on to today that you can just let go of, and then you'll stop drinking Lake Mead water, which is nasty, by the way. In verse 6, 9, and 11, love wins always. When you fill your heart with love, which love, like God is love, right? And so I asked my wife this question before. I said, how would you define God? She said, God is love. And you can always tell that it's God's work by there's love in it, right? But love always wins. It always wins. No matter what, it always wins. I had a challenge. I got frustrated yesterday. I kind of popped off at my daughter. She's amazing, by the way. I love you, McKenna. I popped off at her. And then I just sat in it for a bit, and I was like, man, I was a jerk. And then I sat down with her. I communicated with her, and I let her know, like, hey, I have to take responsibility. And then I wasn't trying to justify my actions. I just told her this was my thought process in it. And as I communicated it, she got up, and she had tears in her eyes, and she came over. She just gave me a big hug. And she just held on. It's like love always wins. It really does. I didn't believe my mom when she used to tell me this, but it does. It really, I mean, every single time it'll win. So just show love. If you're frustrated, show love. If you're angry, show love. But if you're angry and you show anger, you think, or someone comes at you with anger and you show anger, guys, it's just going to escalate the situation. Here we go. Verse 8, 28, 27, and 29. More doing is not always the answer. That one hit me hard today because I always think like, man, I'm going to continue on. You know, my pop said a pit bull mentality. You lock your jaws onto something and you don't let go until you get exactly what it is that you want. But sometimes more doing is not the answer. Sometimes it's chilling out, taking a breath, taking some rest. And when you rest, you'll see a clearer vision, right? In verse 13, 14, 15, your face and your words reflect your heart. My mama was always big on this. Guard your heart, watch your mouth. Guard your heart, watch your mouth. Guard your heart, watch your mouth. Your face and your words reflect your heart. You could tell when someone's when they're smiling from their heart. You could tell when their words are actually filled and come from love, as opposed to coming from trying to get some sort of advantage from you. And in 13, 14, and 15, it reiterates this. So check your face, check your words, and you'll understand the condition of your heart. Man. In verse 16, 17, 24, a little bit of love changes the game. We go back to it. Love wins always. A little bit of love will change the game. You add a little bit of love into whatever it is that you're doing. I asked my mother-in-law, we call her Nanny. She was cooking some pancakes. She got to make the best pancakes in the world. And I said, Nanny, what is the difference? I watch her. I watch the ingredients. I watch how she does it. I watch the heat, but they never turn out the same. And she's like, I put love into them. My buddy Walito, he did the same thing. He made us some chicken and made some lamb, some steak, and some salsa. And I was like, "What? How do you make this?" And he's like, "I just put love into it." A little bit of love will change the game. In verse 18, reactions seldom have to do with the current circumstance. I learned that because I reacted yesterday and I popped off at my daughter. And when I did, it had nothing to do with the current circumstance. It had to do with a couple other things that had been happening the previous days. But if we understand that our reactions seldom have to do with the current circumstance, then it'll teach us to let go of that rope, because sometimes we're holding on to a rope and then we come into a new circumstance and we want to bring that in. And we're like, with me, I'm drinking water from Lake Mead and I'm just in chaos and I'm thinking I'm drowned in all these things. So I'm reacting in this way, but it doesn't. And then when I let go of the rope, everything went calm. In verse 19, love is that simple. All of the rest is complicated. It is so simple to love people. It is so simple to show love. But the rest is complicated. The world will complicate things up. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to do this. You got to do that. I promise you. I promise you. And the reason why is because I receive an unreal amount of love from the people around me. Even when I'm a bonehead. Even when I make bad decisions. But I tell you that love is that simple. And I can tell you that all the rest of the stuff is complicated. So choose to love. In verse 20, 21, and 30, love produces joy and all other great things. Love produces joy. Joy is the art of falling in love with your current circumstances and allowing magic to happen. And all the other greater things are all the other greater things in life. And love produces those things. When you have love in your life, what'll start to happen is you'll just fall in love with the current circumstances, not trying to change them. And then you'll start to see magic happen around you, not because it's perfect, but because you just fall in love with that scenario. In verse 22, 23, and 31, when you ask the right questions, you get the right answers. This one is massive. We talked about it a couple episodes ago about asking the right questions and asking questions. My pops would call it being dumb, being the dumbest person in the room. But I tell you, when you ask the right questions, you get the right answers. And when you start to ask the right questions of people, of yourself, of the environments, it's amazing what you start to learn. And I used to always think, no, I need to learn so I could tell people the answer. And God was saying, no, you need to learn so you can ask the right questions. Stay curious, son. Because when you ask the right questions, you'll draw it out. In verse number 33, as we finish, is respect is a firm foundation. At the basis of love, it's respect. It's to respect where someone's at, respect where they came from, and respect where they're going. And when you do that, you're showing love to them. Respect is a firm foundation, and when you respect those things, it's amazing what can happen. My pops was so big on this as far as respect. You see, God's ways are above our ways, and wisdom will, in many cases, work contrary to conventional thinking. Sometimes letting takes more strength. Sometimes letting go takes more strength than hanging on. What old patterns, perceptions, and perspectives are you clinging to? God is inviting all of us to accept his love, his peace, and simply let go of the rope. The lessons that I learn every single day as I go through and I just ingest wisdom. And where can you get it? You could get wisdom from the fear of God. Just spend time with him. I choose Proverbs. This is Proverbs 15 as a multitude of wisdom within it. But most of the time it's just us, letting go of the rope, letting go of the things that, that held us, letting go of some of the concepts that we have that don't serve us anymore. And when you carry old, like it's an old proverb, that talks about when you can't put new wine into old skins. And when you try and carry something new in something old, and you try and bring those two together, sometimes it doesn't work. Not all the times, but we've got to be willing to just allow things to be able to go and let go of those things so new things can come into our life. And sometimes the things that we're holding on to are dragging us through Lake Mead, making us ingest a bunch of water when we don't have to. And the simple answer is to just let go of the rope. So I want to thank all of you for tuning in. It's another episode of Inchstones. Make sure you check out the Substack, subscribe to our Substack. The link is in the comments or in the bio. And then also the Vibe Room is coming up. I want to thank you guys all. We got some great interviews coming up very, very soon. Matt Holleran's going to be on soon. We've had some talks with some really, really amazing people in 2025 that we're going to have on the show, which is going to be unbelievable. But I want to thank you all for your support. And I want to tell you, my name is Kelly Cardenas, and I'm officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul.
Nothing more on my mind. I got to shine, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.